If you are purchasing a home, especially new construction, and you get anyone that tells you it is impossible to predict what your future property taxes will be, you need to fire them right now. The reality is that property taxes are a process to calculate, but it's not impossible. And there are certain areas where the calculations are very funny. We may have to call the county tax assessor's office to confirm. But the reality is that most areas actually have pretty transparent property taxes, even in new construction areas where we can find the assessor's parcel number and identify either that specific home, what the taxes will be in the future, or find a similar home like the model home and get a pretty dang close idea to what your property tax factors and add-ons will be. I'm going to walk you through the process for how to see what the factors, what the multiplier is going to be for property taxes, as well as things like bond special assessments and mello roos. Depending on which area you live in, which state you live in, they may be called different things. So just using the word add-ons is kind of an easy way to go about figuring out what your property taxes will be on a specific home. So let's go ahead and look at Redfin. When you're looking for homes and you have a realtor, they're going to set you up with a portal. And I love the realtor's portal. I love the information. There's going to be confidential remarks and things that you're not going to be able to see on public systems like this. But the reason I go to these is because I know that's where most people start. Or if you decide that you want to change the parameters, change the criteria by which you're looking, sometimes you guys move over to a Zillow or a Redfin. Zillow, in my experience, some of the information might lag a little bit, or they may look a little bit more desirable than it actually is, because ultimately systems like this, the goal is to get as much information, contact information for you so that they can then sell it to people who advertise on their site or who that they already partner with. So as far as like the validity of the information, that sometimes is not the number one priority. This is 95835 in Sacramento, just filtered by 4-bedroom, 2-bath. We're going to look at 51 Daytona Court. I didn't realize it when I pulled it up the first time, but this actually is new construction, which is a really great thing. On this home, this is $566,200. If this home were a resale home, as we get towards the middle here, it's going to tell you how much it previously sold for, as well as what the current property taxes are. Now, I want to say legally, but basically the requirements for getting a home loan are that we take your $566,200 purchase price and we multiply it by 2%. So you can basically take 2 zeros off of it and just multiply by 1.25. That brings you to $7,077 per year, or $589 a month. Now you can see down here the property taxes that Redfin is estimating on this specific home are $590 per month. Now the rest of the items on this home could also be debated. This specific home is going to have home insurance and flood insurance, which is definitely not accounted for in here. But for the property taxes, they're giving you the base number at that 1.25% that they're required to use. However, in this home or any specific home that you find, you can go to the county assessor website. The tax assessor, the assessor parcel number lookup, your maps search, the appraiser website, whatever it's called, you're going to be able to Google it. On the assessor's website, it's going to tell you what the property taxes are currently. This specific home was assessed just for the value of the land, the dwelling. The home has not yet been evaluated, and it could take 6, 12, 18 months after completion to do that. So the semi-annual payment for this one is going to be $1,744, which obviously is very low. When you pull up the tax roll like this, there's going to be a lot of identifiers in here. The percentages or the multiplier in here is gotten a lot easier over the past couple of years. It didn't used to add it up for us like this. This is going to tell you that 1% base tax rate for when you purchase a home. And then there's also going to be other items like these elementary school, high school, fire bonds, special assessments, mello roos. Those are all terms for add-ons for your property taxes. Generally speaking, they don't go on forever. Some of them may. Oftentimes 25 years is a really common amount of time. So you can even call the county and say, hey, when does this specific bond expire? They can tell you the date, and you can even say what's the payoff on it. So there are certain people actually that when they're selling a home, especially if they haven't lived in the home that long, one thing that you can do to really increase the value is to pay off a special assessment. And that way you can go in and say, hey, I'm paying off this $2,000 a year bond. Your property taxes are going to be lower than all of your neighbors. So we were looking at $566,200, and that is going to be 1.1785% property tax rate. $6,672 are the taxes. And then we have these special bonds or assessments or mello, direct levies, whatever you want to call them, CDDs. A lot of them are cheap, $9, a dollar. And then you got $141 for I don't know if this is transportation or something, fire department, and then you have $2,159. Generally speaking, this is going to be a special assessment bond, aka mello. The total of all the bonds is $2,327.62. The property taxes on this home are now going to be $9,000 per year. If we go back and kind of look at what the original calculation was at that 590, $9,000 per year over 12 months is $750 per month. That is a $160 increase versus what the systems are going to probably assume that your property taxes will be. The other thing to keep in mind is that at $9,000 per year, we are at a 1.589 property tax rate. That's almost 1.6%. Very few people in the real estate and mortgage world will tell you to expect anything like this. And honestly speaking, if we were to look at homes selling in Texas right now, there are certain homes in Texas that are not 2 or 3% taxes, like a lot of people think, that are really closer to this 1.6 mark. It brings things a little bit more into perspective. Sometimes we hear people say, should I purchase a home in California? Should we move out of state? Well, my property taxes are going to be a lot more out of state. That's possible. This is the conversation where it really opens up. What area do we purchase in? Do we purchase in an area that maybe has no state income tax, but higher property taxes? Because the reality is that I'm going to purchase in California and have that same amount of property taxes now that I know. Now that I know how to read the tax roll, now that I know how it's actually going to be calculated. There are so many amazing things about purchasing a home, especially in these higher cost of living areas as values have gone up over time. But there's more conversations that we're having now, especially with people working remote. And if you are selling a home and deciding what do you do next? Do you buy another home in the same area? Do you buy out of state, or do you not sell that home? Do we take money out of it and maybe build an ADU, an accessory dwelling unit in the back for additional rental income or for a family member to move into? We're just kind of in such a unique time where the conversations are not just black and white. It's not just buy a house and sell a house. It's not just, hey, what's my payment? What's the rate? There is a much larger conversation when it comes to overall wealth building when it comes to real estate. I am so passionate about numbers. You can find me on Instagram and YouTube, Mortgage Math with Ash. Numbers and mortgages, they just go hand in hand because at the end of the day, it's just math. If you have any questions at all, if there's any other content you want me to cover, please let me know. I'm so excited you found me. Bye, guys.